The crystalline halls of the Zephyrian royal palace gleamed with an otherworldly luminescence as Alexander stood before the assembled court. His human frame seemed insignificant among the towering, ethereal beings that surrounded him. The Zephyrians were magnificent creatures, tall, with skin that shimmered like liquid mercury and eyes that held galaxies within their depths. Alexander had been chosen as Earth's ambassador for this historic first contact, not because of his diplomatic credentials, but because of something far more valuable: his genuine curiosity and compassion. The United Earth Coalition had learned from countless science fiction stories that sometimes the best representatives weren't politicians, but ordinary people with extraordinary hearts. Beside him stood Anna, the mission's xenobiologist and his closest friend. Her auburn hair was tied back in a practical bun, and her green eyes sparkled with the same wonder that had drawn them both to the stars. They had trained together for 3 years, preparing for this moment when humanity would meet the ancient Zephyrian Empire. The alien queen, Velthara, sat upon her throne of living light. She was breathtaking and terrifying in equal measure, a being who had witnessed the birth and death of civilizations. Her daughter, Princess Lyria, stood at her side, a smaller version of her mother's magnificence, though no less impressive. The princess couldn't have been more than the Zephyrian equivalent of a human teenager. Humans, Queen Velthara's voice resonated through the chamber like a symphony. You come before us bearing gifts of peace. But we have seen your kind's history, your wars, your destruction, your endless capacity for violence. Her eyes, ancient and knowing, fixed upon Alexander. Tell me, Ambassador, why should we trust a species so young, so volatile? Alexander had prepared a speech. Weeks of carefully crafted words designed to showcase humanity's achievements, our art, our science, our progress. But standing there, beneath the weight of those cosmic eyes, the speech died in his throat. Instead, he spoke from his heart. Your Majesty, he began, his voice steady despite his racing pulse. You're absolutely right. We are young. We are volatile. We have made terrible mistakes. He took a breath. But that's exactly why you should give us a chance. Because we learn. Because we grow. Because every mistake we've made has taught us to be better. Anna stepped forward, adding her voice to his. We don't claim to be perfect. We don't claim to have all the answers. But we claim to care. We claim to try. And we claim that, given the chance, we will surprise you. The Queen's expression remained unreadable, but something flickered in Princess Lyria's eyes. Curiosity, perhaps, or recognition. Alexander continued. I've read about your people, your Majesty. How you've existed for millions of years. How you've achieved peace, harmony, transcendence. That's beautiful. That's inspiring. But you know what? You had to start somewhere too. You had to make mistakes. You had to learn. You speak boldly for such a primitive creature. One of the Zephyrian nobles hissed from the side. Maybe that's humanity's strength, Anna interjected, her voice carrying across the silent hall. We're bold because we have to be. We're brave because we have no choice. We reach for the stars not because we've earned the right, but because we dare to dream we could. The Queen raised a hand, silencing her court. And what of your violence? Your wars? We protect what we love, Alexander interrupted, then immediately regretted his boldness. But he pressed on. Yes, we fight. But we fight for our children. We fight for our future. We fight for the right of every being to exist, to grow, to become more than they were. Princess Lyria had been watching Alexander intently throughout the exchange. Her young face, so alien yet somehow achingly familiar in its earnest expression, showed an emotion that transcended species: hope. Mother, she said quietly, may I speak? The Queen nodded, and every eye in the chamber turned to the princess. I have studied the humans, Lyria said, her voice like wind chimes. I have watched their transmissions, read their histories, analyzed their art, and I see something in them that we have forgotten. She turned to face her mother. They have hope, real hope, not the certainty of an ancient race that has seen everything, but the desperate, beautiful hope of a species that believes tomorrow can be better than today. She stepped down from the dais, and the entire palace seemed to hold its breath. Guards tensed. Nobles gasped. The Queen's eyes widened, but Princess Lyria walked straight to Alexander, her shimmering form gliding across the crystalline floor. She stopped before him, tilted her head, and studied his face with those galaxy-filled eyes. "You are afraid," she observed. "Terrified," Alexander admitted with a small smile. "But you came anyway." "Yes, that," she said softly, "is what I admire about humans." And then, in a movement that would be discussed across the galaxy for generations to come, Princess Lyria, daughter of the most powerful being in the known universe, ran forward and wrapped her arms around Alexander in a gesture of pure, innocent affection. The entire palace froze. Guards reached for weapons they weren't sure they should draw. Nobles stood paralyzed between shock and horror. Anna's hand flew to her mouth, and Queen Velthara rose from her throne, her expression utterly unreadable. But Alexander, guided by instinct rather than protocol, did the only thing that felt right. He hugged her back. "You are warm," Lyria whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "Our history speaks of warmth, but we evolved beyond it eons ago." I had forgotten what it meant. "We have much to teach each other," Alexander whispered back. The queen descended from her throne, and the chamber waited for judgment. But when she reached them, Velthara's face had softened, and her ancient eyes held something that might have been tears. "My daughter has chosen," she said, her voice resonating through every soul present. "And in her choice, I see the future." She looked at Alexander and Anna. "Humans, you are crude, young, and imperfect. But perhaps that is exactly what the universe needs. Perhaps we ancients have much to remember about hope, about warmth, about the courage to dream impossible dreams." She extended her hand, a gesture borrowed from human custom. "Welcome to the galactic community, children of Earth. Teach us to feel again, and we shall teach you to dream beyond your wildest imagination." As Alexander shook the alien queen's hand, with Princess Lyria still holding his other arm and Anna beaming beside him, he realized something profound. Humanity's greatest strength had never been our technology or our intelligence. It had always been our humanity itself, our capacity for connection, for love, for hope against all odds. And in that moment, in a crystalline palace on a world light years from Earth, the galaxy changed forever. Not through conquest or force, but through a simple hug that bridged the infinite distance between species. Humanity, fuck yeah.